Hey besties, welcome back to Healing Her Hustle. We're 8 episodes in at this point, okay? Give us a round of applause. How y'all feeling? Because I'm feeling pretty good. I don't be feeling pretty good all the time, but y'all get me when I'm feeling pretty good. You know what I mean? When I feel like I'm in the mood, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm so glad that I have this channel, because honestly, today is going to be a deep dive. I'm going to name this episode Deep Dive. And y'all know we started this channel. And when we started this channel, I was in a totally different position than I am today, or situation, circumstantial. All the circumstances were totally different. And in my life, that is a reoccurring theme. Like the sporadicness, the random, what do you call those doors that you kind of just revolving doors. That's what I feel like my life is with anything in all areas of my life, whether it be jobs, whether it be men, relationships period, because can't just say men, but relationships period, whether it be finances, like, and what's crazy is I used to blame myself, because I used to think, Shari, you don't follow through on shit, so it's you. Okay, boom. So I started committing and following through with things to see if that would make a difference. Now, mind you, I feel like perspective has a lot to do with everything. So in this deep dive, I do not identify with my traumas, right? I don't go around carrying my traumas on my shoulder, or trauma dumping, or sharing my story all the time, or anything of that nature. But last night I couldn't sleep at all, right? I couldn't sleep at all, like not a wink. Like I kept trying and I just couldn't sleep. So when it get like that, I'll just put on meditation music, right? And to try to like clear my mind and empty my mind. But and during emptying my mind, it was just like, think about nothing, but then everything. Because I think that in allowing myself to think about nothing, the thoughts that would come up or like just arise are things from the past, things that are bothering me, just creeping up in my brain, things that I'm beating myself up for, things that, you know, I just haven't been able to release. So in allowing myself to think about nothing, or clearing that, quieting those loud thoughts, all that like intrusive thoughts, all that noise, and quieting all that noise, then boom, you can think about anything. And in thinking about anything, that's when you just start like fantasizing or envisioning, imagining, and in my head, creating. You know what I mean? And so in that whole little session that I went through all night, I think it started at about 2 o'clock in the morning, because I initially was going to go to bed. I started trying to go to bed at 11 o'clock, 11:45-ish. At 2:30-ish in the morning, I realized the sleep is not happening. The sleep is not here. So that's when I turned on the meditation music. I do partake in ganja, so I tried that also. Like, mind you, I am an insomniac. But that's why I woke up this morning with my story on my mind. Because I had to tell myself, like, girl, you don't identify with this story, but other people might. And so in talking about your story, you don't look like what you've been through. You don't act like what you've been through. You don't treat others like what you've been treated like. So in just talking about your story, just like I told y'all in previous diary entries, when I say it out loud and I get it off my chest, I just got to get it out. Like, you know what I mean? So And I had to say that whole 5-minute spiel to let y'all know that. And me telling my story is not me trauma dumping. It's just kind of giving you a synopsis of just kind of where I am and why I am and who I am. You know what I mean? Y'all my besties. Why wouldn't y'all be able to know me? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I woke up this morning and it was like, I think that I'm going to give them tell them a little bit about me. I want this episode to be a deep dive on me. I want to deep dive on all of it. Okay? So, I guess to get started, one thing that I do want to start with saying is that I've said previous. My family is very female dominant. It's a lot of women in the family. Now, with my family being female dominant, I do know that there are mental health issues that I've grew up with my grandmother, my great grandmother, and my mom, that they were all diagnosed with. You know what I mean? Things like bipolar, stuff like that. I, for one, want to clear the record straight and set a disclaimer that as I am just kind of diving in a little bit, this might even need a part 2, because that's just how drawn out my life story is. I know that some people's is real simple and straight to the point. I grew up here, went to college, went to high school here, went, you know what I'm saying, then got a career here, met my husband here, we had this many kids, and woo. It's that simple for everybody. It's just that linear for everybody. And I know that there's people like me who is just a big clusterfuck. You were born into a big clusterfuck. But then I wanted to give the disclaimer that in saying whatever y'all hear me say, I am not at all encouraging anybody not to go see a psychiatrist, not to get therapy, not to take medication, or prescription medication, if that's what helps you. You know what I mean? If that's what works for you, if you were blessed and you have those resources, fully take advantage of those resources. If you can talk to people, if you can actually get clinical help, you know what I mean? Go do what you have to do, you know what I mean? Tap into those resources if you can. So I'm not saying any of this to say not to do that, okay? But I am going to say that we had generations of untreated mental illness, okay? Untreated mental illness. So let's get started with that, because with my mom, I think that is important. Like that's a very important factor in this conversation that we're going to have here, because that's something I had to realize as an adult. Mental health is a real thing. And that's why I was able to view my mama from a different aspect, from a different perspective, from a different viewpoint altogether, because I realized not only was life whooping her ass, her mental was whooping her ass also. The chemical imbalances was whooping her ass also. So we're going to start there. Okay. So let's get into it. I am second of 8 children, okay? I am the second of 8 children. I gotta break this down because this is important to me. So I want you guys to know this. My mom, so out of all 8 children, right? We got 8 kids. The first and the 5th have the same father, right? So boom, let's get them out the way. The first and the 5th have the same father. That leaves 6 of us left. So the only boy and the girl before her has the same father. Boom, right? So now we got 4 left. The 3 youngest is by her latest husband, who just passed away. So that leaves Shari with her dad. Okay? That's me. I am the only one out of all eight of us who does not have a relationship with their father, who does not know their father, who has not met their father. Okay? Boom. Let's start there. So, my mom is from Chicago. She had my oldest sister in Chicago. She moved to Oklahoma with her big sister, had me in Oklahoma. She then had my 2 younger, or my little brother and my little sister, the 2 that I said were by the same man. That was my mom's husband at that time. She had them after me. After she got that divorce, she left Oklahoma, goes back to Chicago. So we get back to Chicago. I think I'm 5, 6, if even 6. Yeah, gotta be like 6. So that's ultimately where I grew up, because we moved to Chicago. At this time, when my mom divorced her husband and moved back to Chicago, we moved in with my grandmother. And in moving in with my granny, at the time, I guess we were too young to really realize or notice, because we always just thought my mom and my granny were really close. So, but my mom was really dealing with addiction. So, staying with my granny and my mom moving back to Chicago, the addiction kind of went out of control. Like, way out of control. So much so to the point where my mom and my granny were fighting now regularly, fighting all the time. We were being put out all the time. It's 5 of us at this time. It's 5 children at this point. And we're living on the streets homeless a majority of the time, only because my mom just kind of don't want to cooperate with what my granny want her to do in order for us to stay in my granny's house. And my granny was not going to take on the responsibility of your 5 children. My granny was working 2 jobs at the time, working hospice and nursing. 2 jobs at the time. So I've never judged my granny for that at all. Well, as a child, we used to beg her to stay, but never really judged her for it, because I know it's difficult dealing with someone with an addiction. My mom's older sister also battles the same addiction. So this is 2 out of 4 of my granny's children who are battling addiction. My granny then loses my aunt, the one that is younger than those 2. She then loses her. She don't have the wherewithal to deal with my mama and her addiction no more. My auntie is in Oklahoma still battling her addiction. My mom is going in and out of rehab. We, at this point, what is there to do with us? Foster care. So they send us to foster care. We spend a couple years in foster care. You know, my mom tries to get all her life together and get her shit together to try to get us back. And she finally gets us back. We're living, all 5 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. It was like transitional housing for my mom to be able to, you know, get herself back together, get a job. And, you know, but they have to kind of like watch you and monitor you to make sure that you're able to have your children and you're not, relapsing. So we're in this transitional home, and that's when she meets her late husband, the one who just passed. That's when she met Ed, and that's the father of my 3 younger siblings, the 3 younger girls. She meets him, and actually, if anything, they had a crazy toxic relationship, they did, but if anything, I feel like he was the only stability that my mom ever had, or that my mom ever known. He was also just as crazy as her, so I guess evil twin. They resonated with each other. It worked out, and they did that toxic thing for a long time. So that's really the situation with my mom. Never got any better. So if y'all want to know where it is today, it's never gotten any better. But that's neither here nor there. I say all that to say, well, I'll tell you that part of the story so that you have some background on my mom, background on my granny and them, just the background on that, because now I'm going to get into my life. Boom. So my life being in foster care, a majority of my childhood, so I feel like there was a snippet of childhood that was actually fun. There was a small snippet. That snippet from when we moved. Well, Oklahoma was actually very fun too, but from when we moved to Oklahoma back to Chicago, that little snippet, I think shit got real weird at the age of like 8. Shit got real weird and was never okay. Nothing was ever okay at the age of 8. I've been stressing since the age of 8. Okay? After we went back home to my mom, I started smoking ganja at the age of 11. Per my mom. Me and my sister were sitting there, and we was about to go to school. My mom and my sister was out there smoking, and they said, "You want to hit it?" And I said, "Yeah." That's all she wrote. It's been curtains ever since. I am 29 years old. Okay? So, having stability was never a thing. It was always something I yearned for. It was never a thing that I had access to. The only time I had access to the stability was in foster care. In foster care, we were stable, but then we're stable in a family that's not ours. We're stable with people that don't even got the same skin color as us. You know what I mean? So again, that can throw off any child's equilibrium. I'm a child. And don't know anything but instability. So after we got back with my mom and we're living in this 2-bedroom apartment and the transitional facility, that's when I started my ganja habit at the age of 11. And I think that I was very sensitive. I used to cry about everything. I think that it really broke me because I used to get whoopings for crying because I was so sensitive, because my feelings was hurt, because my mom was shouting at me or raising her voice at me or things like that. I would get beat for. My older sister was totally different than I was. She was more independent. She didn't question anything. Like, she didn't question like me. I always had to question my morals. I always had to question ethics. I always had to question, well, what would happen if I did this? So I was always just like kind of needy, but my mama wasn't in a place to be nurturing. So that's just needs going unnoticed. Hold on, let me turn on this air. But either way it go. So I just look at how still to this day, I'm very sensitive, but then I've hardened myself up for certain things, right? I've hardened myself up for external reasons. Not to be a pussy, so that nobody whoops my ass, so that I don't get bullied, so that I don't get picked on, so that I don't end up just small and timid, So I had to harden from that. I really did have to harden. I was very sensitive. I was a very sensitive person. I used to get whoopings for that. So I feel like my anxiety, or the burying of my personality or who I am, or the downplaying myself, started then. Like way back then, at the age of 10, 11. Then, because I'm being told not to be sensitive, not to allow anybody to whoop my ass, not to cry, not to give a fuck what people think about me or what people say about me. All because I guess this is just how she felt, or this is how she felt like we should be. Meanwhile, you're using drugs to do that. So that translates into my adulthood life. The lack of stability translates into my adulthood life. When I told y'all in the previous episodes how I done went through 1,000,001 jobs, and I don't find any loyalty to any of them. I really don't find the value in any of them, to be honest. I found the value in me. I feel like I choose the job. You know what I'm saying? But again, in order to have stability, you probably need a set career. You probably need, you know what I mean? It takes consistency and longevity for stability. That concept is kind of lacking here. That concept is kind of lacking here. And in turn, I feel like I search for instant gratification. I search for instant gratification to make me feel safe, to make me feel stable. And you know, I might have to do the rest in episode, or what's this, episode 8? I might have to do the rest in episode 9. Because this is already getting a little deep to me. And I feel like when we heal from things, we feel like we're healed from things. But that's why I like to talk about it out loud. Because you got to get that energy moving and off of you. You got to let it go. You have to release. And I don't talk about this stuff out loud. I don't talk about this stuff to anybody, really. I don't. But this is my diary. And y'all are here to talk to me. So I'm going to talk. And I appreciate y'all for listening. I appreciate y'all just for even being here. I appreciate y'all support. And I appreciate you being a friend and getting to know me. So if you feel like I didn't get anywhere in this episode, good. Because this is just an opening. This is just an opening. And as I'm talking, I'm like coming to realizations. So as I dig through this past, I'm coming to realizations because we stopped at the age of 11. I didn't even get past the age of 11 yet. Because I know that if I do, this is going to be a 40, 50 minute video. You know, just kind of going through the motions and talking about the story. So I'm definitely going to make a part 2 of episode 8, the deep dive. And we're going to dive deep into Ashari and who I am and why I am the way I am and why I do the things I do and what molded me into what I am today. So yeah, thank you, besties, for coming back to Healing Her Hustle. And I'm gonna see you soon with more deep dive on myself. And I hope that while we're deep diving on myself, because I don't like to just make things about me, I hope that while we are deep diving about myself, hopefully you resonate with my story so that, again, we can heal together. Because that's all this channel is really seriously about, healing. Of course, we are yapping, but we're healing in the meantime. And people don't understand how words are spells. And the things that you say out your mouth can come to fruition. And you also can block your blessings by the things that come out your mouth. You also can free yourself by the things that come out your mouth. You also can release trauma from the things that come out your mouth. So that's what we doing. I guess this is going to be a form of releasing. The deep dive, I guess, is going to be a form of releasing, guys. I'm going to try to cut this into 2 parts, but we may need 3. Okay? Thank you for coming back. Hey, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and come back. Okay? See you later.